pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mr. Booker.
Present.
Mr. Fierstos is absent. Mr. Penrod.
Present.
Mr. Brubaker.
Present.
Mr. Raymer.
Present.
Mr. Esposette.
Present.
And I'm here, Randy.
Hold that mic. I'll go mic down.
All right.
That was
Perfect. Any additions, deletions?
No additions or deletions.
Hearing of patrons.
First, I'd like to thank all the candidates who ran for school board. I appreciate your willingness to serve our community. I'd also like to welcome our two new school board members, Mariah Tobias and Fred Orr, who will be sworn in next year. I wish you all the best, and I hope that you can bring some much-needed self-accountability to the board. It was a year ago that Mr. Booker took it upon himself to sabotage a job opportunity for a member of our staff. There was no benefit to our school corporation. In fact, his actions cost us thousands of dollars. I've pleaded in every way possible for this board to publicly denounce this behavior and take actions to ensure it doesn't happen again. Instead, you have done your best to keep it quiet and ignore the situation. I'm asking again, how can you sit there and say nothing? Are you really that spineless, or do you just not care? And I'm willing to take an answer.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Thanks for your time.
That's what I thought.
Spineless. This is a business meeting of the School Board of Trustees. So, presentations and recognition, please.
Ms. Mize, I'd like to invite Ms. Mize and the FFA or whoever's presenting to come up.
Well, it's my honor to be here this evening, and it's good to see lots of young people in the house tonight. That's always good. I have the privilege of introducing you to two national judging teams. One traveled to West Virginia and one traveled to Indianapolis. And so they have great things to tell you, so I'm going to let them speak, and then we'll do some Q&A when we're finished. So we'll have the National 4-H Forestry Judging Team come up, please.
Hello, I am Megan Metzger. The team of Clark Showalter, Landon Gish, Thane Metzger, and myself competed at the National 4-H Forestry Competition held in Jackson's Mill, West Virginia in July. We qualified for this contest in the fall of 2023 at the State 4-H Forestry Contest, which was held at Purdue University. And we placed there first as a team, and we are the first team from Manchester to qualify for the 4-H forestry competition at the national level.
Hello, I'm Landon Gish. This contest, there are 12 different events in this contest, including general knowledge, timber cruising, compass, pacing, mapping, and identification. Identification includes leaves, diseases, insects, and standing trees. All of these events were run by professionals, and they could tweak or run the contest however they wanted. And we also had some team activities that we could do.
Hi, I'm Thane Metzger. These team activities included the Forestry Quiz Bowl and the Forest Management activity. The Forestry Quiz Bowl was ran Jeopardy style, so they had timed questions and buzzers, and we competed directly against a the opponent or the other team. We made it to the final round in the Quiz Bowl where we competed against Tennessee. The other contest was the forest management activity, and this was a combination of all the individual events where they gave us a written scenario and they had us write a forest management plan based on the written scenario.
Hi, I'm Clark Showalter. At the award ceremony, they honored everyone who won an individual event. Myself, I won the general knowledge exam, and Megan, she won the disease identification. They then announced individual placings. For our team, we had Landon Gish at 32nd, Thane Metzger at 13th, Megan Metzger at 3rd, and myself at 1st. Our team placed 2nd, just behind Mississippi. We are all so lucky to have been able to compete at this contest. We're very grateful for all of the community support that we got. So, and we hope we can send some more teams next year. I'd now like to bring the FFA forestry people up.
Good evening, I'm Lane Showalter, and the team of Clark Showalter, Grace Hall, Thane Metzger, and myself, Lane Showalter, competed at the National FFA National FFA Forestry Contest 3 weeks ago. This contest was held at the 97th National FFA Convention in Indianapolis and at the Morgan Monroe State Forest, south of Martinsville. We qualified for this contest through the Spring Practical Forestry Development event this year in April. The Practical Forestry Contest was at the Indiana FFA Leadership Center, where we placed first as a team.
Hello, I'm Grace Hall, and no team from Manchester has ever made it to this national contest before. There was 40 teams and 157 individuals in those teams. All teams had to win their own state competition to make it to nationals. And in that competition, we had 6 events, which included general knowledge, tree identification, timber cruising, map interpretation, forest business management, and the team activity.
I'm back. So, and the general knowledge portion, the general knowledge covers all aspects of forestry and logging, just random questions based on it. The tree identification, we had to identify standing trees, and then they also had branch samples of non-native species of trees. And the timber cruising, we got a Biltmore stick, and we had to estimate the diameter and height of a tree, and then with those numbers you could figure how many board feet were in the tree. The mapping, so they laid out topographic maps on tables, and then we had various questions we had to answer based on the topographic maps. And the forest business management activity, they gave us a scenario, and we had to calculate multiple costs and profits of a landowner logging their forest. And the team activity, it was a combination of all the individual activities, and so it was based on that, but you worked as a team to complete it.
I've also returned. The first award ceremony was held at the Indiana Convention Center. They announced individual event winners, top 10 individuals, and top 4 teams. I was both an individual event winner in the Forest Business Management Practicum and a top 10 individual. Final results were then announced at the 4th General Session of the National Convention, where I was awarded 2nd place individual, and our team was announced 19th place. The team was so thankful for the opportunity to be able to compete again at a national level, and again, we just want to thank everyone who helped us get there, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody has about the forestry or the contest.
So how many teams between the West Virginia event and then the National Convention event, how many teams do you go up against?
The 4-H contest was a lot smaller. It had 10 teams, but people came as far away as Utah came to that event. The FFA division had 40 teams from, California was there, Oregon, Washington, everybody was there.
Given this experience, do you look at maybe after school, high school and stuff, to do something like that in college or additional? Any of you curious on that?
I would like to study dendrology, which is the study of identification of trees at Purdue University. Anybody else? I think they have other interests.
No, that's okay.
So someone mentioned, I think you said Biltmore stick, is that right? Talk to me about that. What is that, and how do you use that to determine the height and I think you said diameter of a tree?
Yeah, so the Biltmore stick, it's a stick, it's what, 30 inches?
31 inches.
31 inches long, and so on one side it's going to have your printed diameters, and so you hold it 25 inches away from your body and you sight the diameter of the tree. And then you take that diameter and you remember that number, and then you have to pace out 66 feet away from the tree, and you have to sight, it has tree 16-foot log markings, and you hold it upright, and you, again, 25 inches from your face, and you have to sight how many logs can be in that tree. So your logs stop at either a major fort, which would be more than half the diameter of your tree, or like if there's a hollow spot where it's broken off. And then with those two numbers, they give you a volume chart, and where they meet is your 4 feet volume.
What's the funniest thing that happened during the competition? Who pulled something? I see you guys.
There's a lot of things.
Can't be spoken.
We had to drive from the Indiana Fairgrounds to the Morgan Monroe State Forest, and everybody was packed on 3 charter buses, 160 people, and our bus was just people screaming the whole time. It was hilarious.
Good time?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for representing our school and our FFA program. We know it's like state recognized, and that, now it's nationally recognized. So Gwen, great job.
It's a testament to your guys' hard work, to having a great FFA, leader, director, and the people that help assist you. So it's outstanding.
Well, I would just like to say, on behalf of all these students, lots of people have a dream to do well, but these 6 individuals were driven to do well. And they said, can we try to go win the state contest and go to a national contest? And I'm like, absolutely. And their drive to do well, not once, but the second time, was absolutely amazing to me. And it's a testament to their dedication and their stick-to-itiveness as to what can be done if you're really, really, really determined and willing to work. And I'll be completely honest with you, they have forgotten more about this competition than I will probably ever know. And I would applaud them on their efforts and all the hard work that they've done to get there. The only downfall of this is once in FFA, you go to a national contest, you can never compete at the national level in that contest again. So they're trying to find another contest now that they can strive to do well for. But I'm going to tell you a funny story about them, and then we're on our way, because I know you guys have lots to do tonight.
That's all right.
So 3 of them, I just won't point out any names, Thane, Landon, Clark,
The
decided,
ones with smiles on their face.
yeah, they decided that we love our short buses, and sometimes the best part of our trip is on the short bus. Literally, I'm swearing it's on the short bus. But the short bus radios are not very good. In fact, sometimes they don't work at all. So these 3 decided that if we were going to West Virginia, we needed some music. So they went out and bought this very, very, very nice speaker that I've seen my son use that will rattle our whole barn. And they got it, they bought it, and they brought it, and I looked at it because I knew what it was, and I don't think they thought I knew what it was. And I said, what are we going to do with that, boys? They said, we're going to put it on the bus. I said, well, what's it for? I said, well, we're going to play on music. And I said, you could break the windows on the bus when you turn that thing full bore. So you can put it on the bus and you can play music, but we are not turning it way up. We're just not. So they were very good about that. But it was funny because the next time they brought it, they tried to cover it up with a towel or something. And I said, I don't care if you bring the speaker, it's fine. We're just not replacing many bus windows. So that's one of my favorite memories. And the fact that we can all be very proud of them because they were never late. They were never not where they were supposed to be. They were always respectful, and I received compliments from other states about how nice they were, how polite they were, and how well they represented Indiana. So those are the things you're never going to hear if I don't tell you. So I wanted to share that with you, and we're really glad to be here. Thanks for letting us go first. We've got an activity over at the high school, so not to be rude, but we're going to leave here in a little bit. So if you don't have any further questions, we will let you move on. We've got lots of good kids to hear from tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, unified.
Mr. Baldwin, be talking to us about Unified Squires.
Good evening, school board, audience members, everybody that's watching online. My name is Tommy Baldwin. I am the principal at Manchester Intermediate School, and we are here tonight to talk about the Unified Sports and Activities Program at Manchester Intermediate School. Lots of times when we get up here as administrators, we're tasked with talking about data. And ultimately in education, that's kind of what it all comes back to. So, I want to preface all of this that anything we do in a school is working together to give our kids the best educational experience. And we're looking at outcomes. And so a lot of times, we use qualitative data, but, the things that we do in our schools, they help impact our quantitative data as well. I haven't had an opportunity to share these yet this year, but these are our iLearn scores for the 2023-2024 school year. These are passing percentages, and went ahead and ranked those against various districts in our area, both in terms of our athletic conference, neighboring counties, districts that we tend to view as exemplars in the area, and MIS more than stacks up. We hold our own. We are leaders in the area in terms of our rates of success for students. And we're very proud of this data, but the thing is, these numbers, they don't just accrue in a vacuum, right? It's not just about this silo where we teach math here and we teach English language arts here. It's holistic. And everything that you do in a school works in concert to help students be able to achieve these numbers. And these numbers don't show a lot, okay? They don't show the students that grew from below proficient to almost approaching proficiency. They don't show the kids that grew from below proficient to approaching proficiency, but yet they're still counted as a do not pass for the district. These are just students that passed. And we could spend an hour talking about data, but that's not the reason for our being here tonight. Okay, 2 questions up there. No, Randy. What does our data show, and what does the data mean? Okay, to me, the data doesn't just mean we're doing well. The data means, beyond that our school climate and our school culture is thriving. Okay, because kids are only going to succeed when they feel safe, when they feel seen, and when they feel supported. And we do a lot of great stuff academically at MIS. I'll talk all day about the work that my teachers put in academically, teaching kids in the whole group setting, teaching kids in small group, doing RTI. But it's the things that don't always show up that we have to come here and highlight that I think really are the driving force behind why our school is so successful.
Sure.
Positive. And so one of those things that we're really proud of at MIS is our Unified Sports Program. Just a little backstory here. This is my 6th year in the district, and one of the first things that I had the opportunity to do as an administrator here in the winter of 2019, I attended a Focus on Inclusion conference with Erica Vogel and a couple of other special education teachers in the district. Amanda Johnson was one of them at the time, and Sarah Emmert. Heidi Emmert's a different Emmert. Sarah Emmert, who was at the elementary school, and we started talking and brainstorming about what it would look like if we brought Unified to our level. And so we started planning, and we started making, our dipping our toe in the water into what that might look like. And then something happened. and we had COVID-19. And so that kind of got put to the back burner as we figured out how to navigate that. And we had some turnover in staff and positional switches, and we kept moving forward. We piloted the program in 1920. We had to modify things. But in the 2021 school year, we started with our unified track and field program. And it started real small. And it was successful. And every year it's grown and it's grown and it's grown into becoming what you will see is just this really vibrant event that at this point combines multiple schools and is something that you will find one of the seminal moments for all of our kids throughout the school year. It's something where we started roping in various community partners. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce Mrs. Kim Hiley here. She's been instrumental in growing this program in our school. Like any program that you institute that's successful, it can't just be one guy that has an idea and a vision. It's been a collective vision for us as a staff. And she's really been the driving force behind our program for Unified getting to the point that it has. So at this point, I'm going to turn the mic over to her, and she's going to describe a little bit about the process and how we become a Unified Champion school here at Manchester.
Thank you for allowing us to come out tonight and talk about our Unified Sports program at Manchester Intermediate. As Mr. Baldwin mentioned, this will be our 5th year competing to be recognized as a UCS banner school. So in order to become a Unified Champion school, we have to meet 4 pillars that are established by the Special Olympics. That first pillar is our inclusive youth leadership. So at MIS, we have a student-led GRIT team, and GRIT is part of our PBIS program. So that's our program where we're encouraging students to just make good choices throughout their school day. And we have a few members on that team that work together to help plan our monthly and our year-end celebrations, and they also work in our GRIT store. The second pillar is whole school community engagement. So each year we host a convocation put on by Craig Tornquist, and Craig works with the Special Olympics to planning a presentation that's really, it's full of a lot of laughter and music and fun and games, and it's really focused on the power of inclusion. Our third pillar is fundraising. So each year our MIS Student Council raises $250 that's then donated back to the Special Olympics so that they can continue programs such as Unified. And our last pillar is our participation in a unified sports program. So each May, MIS hosts our annual Unified Sports Track and Field Day. So on that day, students of all abilities come together to form teams and compete in events such as a long jump, shot put, and a sprint. So I often refer to this day as the best day of the school year because the energy on that day is just contagious and is just such a fun day from the time we walk in the building. We are blessed at MIS to have an amazing group of paraprofessionals that act as coaches on that day. And I will say these ladies really do put their heart and soul into making sure this is a great event for our kiddos. Last year we had from preschool through 6th grade 110 kids participate. So it really was a building-wide effort to put on this event and make sure it's a great day. So our school secretaries, our janitorial staff, our lunch staff, just everybody on that day, our teachers all come out and support that day. And our entire student section comes out on that day as well. So we have a few of those individuals in our audience today, and if you would, please stand and be recognized if you have ever helped at a Unified Champions event. Thank you. And like Mr. Baldwin said, we've had the Manchester University boys baseball team come out, our high school girls basketball team, as well as members of the Walnut Creek Church. So that's all I have, but thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
talking about it's one thing, but we have a couple different ways tonight to kind of show you and have some different people share their experiences. So the first thing we've got here, if Mr. Self would go to the video, just a brief synopsis, very brief, of the history of Unified at MIS. And then we also have a few faces that you may have seen in that video that are going to come up and help us describe their experience with Unified Sports. So students, if you go ahead and come up. All right, first we've got Rigdon. Rigdon is very excited to talk to you. So Rigdon, why don't you tell them what your favorite part of Unified was?
Okay, so I just walk in there and then I just kick the ball and then I just run fast and then I just walk around the surface and then I just saw a big wave come from to get close to us but then I just walk forward and then I just run for and then I just throw the ball and then I can pull forwards and then I can jump way high, but then I can touch the sea way high, but then I just have the simple. your best day ever.
Rigdon
I want to be on your
is-
team.
Hey, listen, you want Rigdon on your team. Rigdon is actually a 7th grader now. He is an MIS alumni, but he participated all 3 of his years at MIS. So there's nobody better suited to speak about their experience at Unified than my buddy Rigdon here. Oh, we're gonna let Next, we have Bentley, and Bentley is in 5th grade, so this will be his 2nd year in Unified. Bentley, what did you like about Unified?
It's very good. I like to play soccer sometimes, but soccer is good.
Did you have fun at Unified?
Yes, I did.
All right. Round of applause. Bentley Clemens. Now, Unified is divided into, you have 2 segments of students that are participating. You have the participants themselves, who are students who are identified through an IEP, through our special education program. But this program doesn't happen without the partners. The partners are general education students that come alongside our participants on those days to try to, help make the experience as good as it can be for everybody. So I've got 3 tremendous 6th grade young ladies here, Kinsey Peden, Edie Finch, and Lillian Donaldson, and they are going to describe for you what their experience has been with Unified Sports.
Unified Sports is very fun and it helps to include everyone. I love it because I get to be around people that I'm not usually around. It helps to include those who usually wouldn't be able to play school sports to have a fun day filled with them. I'm very glad that our school is able to do Unified Sports. I've been in Unified Sports for 2 years. I love being involved in Unified Sports because it gives all kids a chance to play organized sports. We always have so much fun that day. It also gives us a chance to get to know each other and make new friends. That's why I think Unified Sports is a great day for everyone. Unified Sports is a great way to connect with people and to get involved in fun activities. I think the school should keep doing this because it is so much fun and it gives all kids a chance to participate, win awards, meet new friends, and have a great time outside. These are just a few examples why Unified Sports is an event you will never forget.
So, just to kind of wrap things up, I can't really say anything better than those 5 said right there. I didn't see what those 3 young ladies wrote in their answers until about 2 minutes before the board meeting started. But they all kind of said the similar things, right? All kids, include, okay, be a part of. That's the ultimate goal for me as an administrator. Whether we've got 200 kids in our building or 700, the goal is that every single one of them that walks in the doors at MIS every single day feels like they're a part of the fabric of our school. And the way that you achieve that is through things like Unified Sports, okay? And the other thing it does is it allows students to be empathetic, all right? You get to know these students that you're working with that you may otherwise not necessarily associate with on a daily basis. It's probably the thing that I am the most proud of. You pull that data up there, that's great, and we can put that in the newspaper and we can be real proud of that. But if you come to MIS on a daily basis, our students interact with each other the way they do because we've been a unified school for 5 years. Okay, we treat each other graciously, with respect, intentionally, and with trust because that's our culture. And that's our culture because of programs like Unified Sports. Come on out. I'll send the board an invite. Community. When we post our date for our event this year, come out to MIS. Possibly here at the high school, if I can work it with Tyson. We want to make it big enough where we need to utilize the football stadium and the track. That's how much this means to me. That's how much this means to our staff, and that's just a little part of what makes MIS. So thank you for your time. If y'all have any questions, you can ask. The kids might be able to answer it better than I can, but I appreciate you letting us present this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say this, Mr. Baldwin. The state constitution, why we're here is education, and I don't think you can separate educational attainment from the environment. And something I really It got reinforced through this little continuous improvement we're doing with your 4 teachers and Josiah White's and at Heartland, is that when kids feel loved and they feel safe, right, they learn better. So thank you for all you do out there, and you guys.
Yeah, it's an us. It's not a me. It's,
Yep.
you know, all of us. So thanks.
Financial report, Dr. Stevens. See, that FFA was good for us, opportunity to get a picture and stuff.
Okay. Good evening. First, I would like to ask that in the future, my presentation comes after consent agenda items, so I don't have to follow kids, because it's intimidating. I look really old standing up here after. So, financial report, you're used to this format, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time with it. This is the operation fund, and actually, I wish that were true, but that's not the right slide.
Oh, which you want?
Well, that's operations, but it's not the right slide.
I've got more.
That's not the right slide? Nope.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll go through it. So month end for operations, I was projecting actually, so we ended up $54,000 better than I was projecting, but we're still $700,000 negative, because again, we don't get our tax roll until next month. So we're running in the right direction. We're not running as negative as what my projection showed a year ago, but we're in good shape.
Good.
Okay. Let's see if this is right. Well, no. Okay.
That's all right, just read them.
Okay. So in the education fund, my projection, we were projecting at the end of October to be $1,608,000. We actually ended up at $1,662,000 for a negative, or for a positive variance of $54,000 month end. So again, right now, when I was projecting originally our year end for 24, I was looking at about $330,000 in the black, and right now we're at 1.6 million in the black. So made a lot of headway over the last 12 months. Our next 3-year projections are looking better than what I projected a year ago. So we're heading in the right direction. We made some modifications. Tony's going to talk a little bit about negotiations here in a minute. I will just assure you that after we plugged in new numbers, we ran the calculations, especially on the benefit side, and I'll talk about a couple other things that's happening on there. We will be better off in 2 years, even with this negotiation package, than what I had originally projected. And part of that was because when we originally ran our benefit package, I ran it over the past 3 years, and we were running less benefit to salary ratio over the last 12 months than we were over the last 3 years. So because of that variance, this increase is actually better out for in 27 year end than what is projecting. So we're in good shape.
So just so the public knows, how far are we forecasting out?
3 years. So we're out through 2027 is what we had to present to DUAB, and we are building out our 2028 right now. So we will always plan on doing at least 2 or 3 years in ahead. So, okay. The other thing, and you've already approved this, but the packet is in front of Mike. We are doing an Indiana Bond Bank Advanced Funding Program. This is a funding program that allows us to borrow against the Debt Service and Operation Fund for 25. That means we get the money in-house in January. And then when we get our tax draws, we pay that back. So it's not a debt because we're actually paying it off with the tax levies that we're collecting. But it gives us the money. So when I talk about negative balances, like 700,000 in the black or in the red right now for operation fund, this next year will be in the black. We can borrow up to about 80%. So when we get to November, we'll be pretty close to being, probably still be in the red by then because of our tax draw, and you can draw 80%. Well, we'll be much better. So instead of being 2 months out of the year being in the black, which is June and December, we should be running probably 10 months in the black next year. So it just makes cash flow look a lot better, and it helps on the accounting side. So anyway, if you already approved that, that was past practice, and we've done that last meeting, the meeting before that. The paperwork is here to be signed, and most of it's the secretary and the president. I will just tell everybody, if you look at the forms, there's a lot of information when it comes to the financials that are blank, because that can't be filled in until the bonds are sold, and those won't be sold until January. So we don't know exactly the amount that we're going to be borrowing, because all that be coming off of our the tax paperwork that DLGF will be running. We don't have that yet, or our 1782 notice, our budget. So once we get that budget, we send it down to Bond Bank. They'll plug in the numbers that we need, and then when they sell the bonds, they plug in the interest rates that will be accumulated off that bond. So, all right, and just a couple other things. When I was first brought on board, I was given 3 tasks that the board wanted me to complete. One was to look at property casualty, which we did, and we already approved that earlier this year. The second was health insurance. So up until November 1st of this year, we were on a self-funded program, which basically means that all the risks that we occurred was for our local district. So when you have 170 people on insurance, when you go to make your new year adjustment, they look not at just our 170 people on insurance, but then they block you in with a bunch of other people that you don't know, you have no relationship with. They just say, the trend is this amount, now you need to fund that amount. So in November 1st, we were still self-funded. We moved our program to Anthem, and that's fine. We're still self-funded. Rates were locked in, so we have the same rates for right now that we had previously, and it's a 12-month contract. Friday, the North Central Trust, which is a group of about 30 school districts, invited us to participate and join their organization. So what that means is instead of being self-funded by ourselves, we'll now be self-funded with a group of 30 other entities with about 3,000 lives. What that means is now you control your destiny. So that group determines rates. So instead of having a bulk of somebody else we don't know included when we look at who we are in our rate adjustments, it now is based on those 3,000 lives in those 30 districts. So that will start January 1st. So we have a very fast turnaround, but we had a very fast turnaround moving from our previous program to now. This will be easier because we're still now moving from Anthem to Anthem, and the plans are exactly the same. But we're looking at a significant cost savings instead of being self-funded to the tune of in excess of $100,000 in savings on health insurance. So great move for us. Looking forward to it. I think the North Central Trust is happy to have us on board. We are the first new entity that they've allowed join. So it's a great marriage. And Tony can address that a little bit more. And then another thing that we have not tackled because for some reason I got sidetracked there for a while is looking at our annuity vendor for our HSA, VIVA, S125, and all those sort of things. So that's on my plate. Probably be a summer study committee that I'll bring in some teachers, have them sit down, look at who we have, let them do a presentation, and look at various vendors that can come in and make sure that we don't have any issues if we move, vested interest type things. I don't think we do, but still that has to be verified. So at some point we may change our investment options, but that'll be next summer. Following, or last thing, we did receive the $3 million first mortgage bond. That is now in-house in our bank account. Some of the things that we're looking at for summer purchases of 25. So if you recall, we raised $3 million. We're looking at $1 million in 25 expenditures, $1 million in 26, and $1 million in 27. Just try to keep things moving along. So in 25, we're looking at one activity bus, a route bus, Heartland roof, resurfacing the track, resurfacing the tennis court, the dust collector for the industrial arts program at the high school needs to be redone, fence around the MES playground, fence around the fence from along the drive here from the high school, so from football field back to the antenna. Now I'm locking that off. Wrestling mats, band and choir flooring, high school stair treads in the gym, MIS carpeting in the cafeteria, MIS carpeting in the hallway, MES preschool playground, MES and MIS playground resurfacing, so the hard surfaces coming in and redoing those. That sounds like almost $1 million right there. So, and we have, most of these are hard numbers now. I have not signed off on the track and on the tennis court resurfacing. I will do that tomorrow. That was dyslexed in, which means we'll be some of the first folks to get done in the spring. So after track season's over, temperature has to be a certain degree for so many days before they can, redo the surfaces. Any questions of where we're at or anything that I've discussed?
And I would add to that, there is still, and we're kind of working with the contractor on final numbers, but there is still money from the last GEO bond that we'll be utilizing to do some minor projects around buildings, water fountains, drinking fountains, things like that, to get those done also. So while that list is pretty comprehensive to the most current first mortgage bond that we did, there are still some revenues from the last GEO bond that we'll be utilizing also to fix some things that have been neglected over the years.
I'll give you an example. So Randy was kind enough to do some legwork for me. So we had a firm that came in that are looking at basically all of our drinking fountains and water faucets and all that good stuff. There's a lot of those that are in disrepair. They may be working but not well.
I heard that.
So we're looking at updating, replacing, repairing all those. So that's not on this list, but it's on my list of stuff that needs to get done. And Tony's right. We're still waiting on the final accounting. I was given one number of how much we owe left on the corridor project probably 9 weeks ago now. And 2 weeks ago, I was given a number that was 60% higher than what I was given 9 weeks ago. To say I was not happy is an understatement. So I'm still waiting on the final accounting to find out where we actually are on that project. So.
Awesome. So I think we need to approve something here. So motion to approve, and then we'll have discussion.
What is it? What are we approving?
Did you?
Okay. Motion.
Motion, second. So, Mr. Ringer, Mr. Brubaker, discussion.
There's no motion needed for the end of bond bank. You've done that.
Yeah.
So you're just signatures.
Okay. And then, so I did have one question, just out of the blue. Did the insurance change impact anybody's deductible at the end of the year then? Are they still?
No.
Okay,
No,
good.
what will happen, it will impact timing. Because all that stuff from our previous vendor gets loaded to Anthem. So there may be a few days.
So they're going to carry over
actually
their
get caught up.
deductibles and all that?
Yep.
Good, perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
So everything will reset January 1st. So if I met my deductible by September, I'm now in Anthem. My deductible, when they look at, if I'm a provider, I may not be able to see that deductible right now. And I'll be close.
Yeah.
Should be really close to seeing it.
Yeah.
So there may be a few days delay, but then on the backside, Anthem will make it up.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy.
Anything else
Thank
for
you,
me?
Dr. Stevens. No, good job.
Thank you.
item, I think we've done that, right?
Consent items.
Consent items, claims, minutes, resignations.
Resignations, have 2 resignations. Alyssa Underwood, assistant track coach, junior senior high, and Ashton Bradford Johnson, junior high track coach. Grants, we have no grants. Donations,
Somebody.
someone want to read?
I can. So donations, we have $500.33 to MES for literacy for a lifetime. From Chittick Insurance. $160 for MJHS choir program from various donors. $200 for MJHS track program from anonymous donors. $200 for MJHS girls soccer program from Stifler family, Angus and Robert Stifler. $225 to MJHS band program for band shirts. We have 3 of those, $225. One from Nordman's Nook, one from Manchester Family Dentistry, and one from Metzger Landscaping and Design, all for the band program and band shirts, $300 for MJHS AP Environmental Science Trip West from anonymous donor. $1,250 from MJHS FFA program from Zotis. $2,500 from MJHS girls basketball program from anonymous donors. $2,500 for MJHS band program from anonymous donors, and $1,500 for MJHS football program from anonymous donors. Grand total of $9,785.33. Thank you.
Thanks to all. Thank you.
No facility rentals to approve this month.
Yep. Motion to approve consent items, Mr. Esposito, second. Mr. Penrod, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy. Recommendations for approval.
Let's start with employment. We have Heather Turfinger, MIS intramural coach, Emily House, MIS intramural coach, Ellie Kaufman, MIS intramural coach, Renee Moore, MES special education maternity leave position, Justin Heater, junior senior high track assistant, Dave Henson, junior senior high school boys basketball assistant, moving to a paid position from a volunteer position. Ian Bowron, 6th grade boys basketball coach, MIS. Braylon Twine, MIS, 6th grade boys basketball coach. Riley Schock, MIS, 6th grade boys basketball coach. Brittany Heffern, Manchester junior high basketball volunteer. Ashton Bradford Johnson, junior high track assistant. So she was the head coach. She's moving to the assistant position. JD Longenecker, junior high head track coach, assistant moving to head coach. And Donna Dietrich, MES part-time cook.
Awesome. Motion to approve new hires. Mr. Brubaker, second. Mr. Penrod, discussion?
Welcome.
Yep, welcome aboard. All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy.
Next, we have ratification of the Manchester Teacher Association agreement with the Manchester Board of School Trustees. The association met in multiple meetings with Dr. Stevens, myself, and Darla Kane, and came to an agreement. The agreement is a step which amounts, when you take last year's certified teacher payroll times 2.6, it equals a step, about $1,400. So the MTA elected to put that $1,400 on the pay scale, adjusting the pay scale by $1,400 to allow us to be a little more competitive, as I presented at the public meeting a couple days ago. And some minor language changes, just clarifying some leave, bereavement leave, and then date administrative changes, dates, et cetera. And then the ECAs, our ECAs are based off of the base salary of our salary schedule, so that did increase by $1,400, and then that adjusts, that's a percentage of that, adjust for ECA pay. I want to thank, I know there's some in the audience, but just thank them for I feel like we had a good faith negotiation. They understand our position because of, in my opinion, the work that Dr. Stevens has laid out and Darla and various people in central office that work with finances. I think we had projected a 2%, we were able to do 2.6. So we were happy with that outcome for our teachers. So I would ask that you take that under consideration and consider making a motion to approve the master contract with the Manchester Teachers Association.
Motion to approve master contract.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Penrod, discussion?
Just thankful that we're able to increase our wages and be competitive, because others are raising their wages, so if we can, I'm glad we were able to do that.
And, teachers are our proposition, right? That's what we're here for, education, so.
I'm aware that our paras are not part of the teacher contracts, but do the paras get some stuff too?
Yeah, we will talk about that here in 6.6. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy. Heartland Center Roof Project.
As you're all aware, we've been talking about this for several months. Heartland, the Heartland building is in need of a roof. We had a company come in and do some core samples, et cetera, on the roof to determine what we wanted to do. We bid that out probably 3 weeks ago. Bids came back. There was one bid who bid metal. There were several bids that bid a two-ply roof. What I submitted to you is from the governing board. The governing board submitted 2 bids out to the 5 LEAs to make a determination. What you see is the Fort Wayne roofing metal. Our portion of the roof project, without some money that has been set aside at Heartland for roofing, would be $387,099. If we include the $184,169 that was set aside for the roof project, it would be $349,392. So it decreases our portion roughly $29,000. The metal roof is a 30-year warranty. It's not uncommon for those roofs to last 50.
Verified that
year.
information.
Okay.
Yeah, the 3-ply is actually 30-year.
Okay.
And they specified that because they were trying to save money, or they were trying to come in lower bid instead of warranting it 30 years. And they said that would last typically 50 years,
Right.
but so the metal roof is 20-year warranty, and the 2-ply is 30-year.
The second one is, the low bid was a AAA roofing company for a 2-ply without the additional $184,000 applied. Manchester's portion would be $272,000, so about $110,000 less than the metal roof. With the $184,169 that was set aside for the roof applied, our portion would be $234,960. Which is about $110,000 left. Dr. Stevens and I have talked, and it's really, and I've talked with Robbie too, because he sits on the governing board, or Mr. Bucher, sorry. On paper, a metal roof sounds great because it's going to last a long time. When you consider our finances and you look at our investment, a 2-ply, if it's going to last 30, that's $110,000 that we can invest internally. I know that 2 districts have already voted. One is voting tonight, and we're voting tonight. So, it's going to be whatever that majority of the LEAs determine to do. Jeff and I would recommend the 2-ply with the 184,000 applied, simply because that frees up some cash to manage things within our district.
I will add on to that, the current roof that we have is the original roof. So it's close to 50 years.
And it's a membrane, and it is.
And it's a membrane roof too, yeah.
And I spoke with some people in industrial roofing. We know that at some point, and probably sooner than later, we'll be looking at a potential HVAC project at that building, and discuss the difference between, because you're not going to have the same, equipment has gotten better, it's smaller. So the holes that are in the metal roofing, with, sections that have to be taken off, replaced, recut, you can patch on a 2-ply or on a membrane roof, but we know that's going to have an impact down the road, and I think not that far down the road. They did a facility study, and that was one of the things that was in the facility studies that was presented to the governing board last year, I think, or last year.
It was.
So I would ask the board for a recommendation on which, if they want to go with metal, or metal with the additional amount applied, or with 2-ply, or 2-ply with the additional amount applied to the project.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Which one?
2-ply with the additional.
Well, give me a motion first and a second, and then we'll have discussion.
There you go.
I want to discuss.
But he has to make the motion of which roof.
Second?
Yeah.
Do you second his motion?
I'll second his motion for the 2-ply roof.
Thank you, Mr. Penrod. Discussion?
So if we vote for the 2-ply roof to agree, but the majority of the schools vote for the metal, we go with the metal,
Right.
we're still on the hook
and
for the
I will
metal.
tell you that 2 school districts have already voted for 2-ply. The Wabash City Schools and Peru Community Schools have voted for the 2-ply with the additional money applied. MSD has a vote this evening, as well as us. And then North Miami will be, at their next meeting, making a decision.
Okay.
And that is for a late spring start, then through the summer. Is that correct, Mr. Booker?
Yeah, it'll be spring, yeah.
Okay.
They'll be going during school, so that'll be.
Really, in my mind, this roof's kind of the tip of the iceberg of this whole situation, and what we really need to do, and I talked to Mr. McWhirter, is the schools need to come up with a financial vehicle to fund improvements and expansion at Heartland Career Center. That's what's got to happen. We can't ad hoc, and I think, Mr. Hobbs was very creative on finding funds for different things, but I think that's probably the more important issue than the roof, right, is to get something going there. So have you had discussions with the other superintendents, or?
I've brought it up that we set aside excess funds, or we decide what funds we want to put in once a month or once a year or whatever it might be for ongoing projects, set aside specifically for those. I think the 184, was that everybody, all the school districts in first investment into this, I assume? Yeah, no, 184 was shared from all 5 school districts, the 184,000 that's there, buy-in essentially.
I know that 184,000 has been building for a long time.
Yeah.
It took a long time for those funds to grow in that account.
Motion to approve?
Which one?
I'll make a motion.
We've made motion for the 2-ply with the funds included.
Yeah, we're already done.
All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy.
Thank you. And I will forward that information on to Mr. McWhirter and the other LEAs that are involved in Heartland.
Okay, administrative stipend.
And next is administrative stipend. As you're all aware, Dr. Lippy retired in early September. We, despite our best efforts, have been unable to secure an interim, and Mrs. Mobley has stepped up without complaining and picked up all evaluations, supervision, some state reporting that needed to be done that typically is handled by a principal. And I think it's important, and I know you guys have talked to me and you recognize the effort she's put out, but I would recommend a $5,000 administrative stipend she's now been since September 3rd, the lone administrator in that building. And that will continue until the new principal begins. And she hasn't missed a beat. I don't know that she's really missed a day. And she's still at everything and really pulling double duty. So I just think, I think it's deserving a stipend for her efforts.
How about we do them all at once?
We can do that.
Is there other?
Yep, we can do it. Like, so do the rest of them.
No, just the administrative part.
Okay. The other part is Mr. Hensley recommends 6.4 and 6.7 together. 6.7 is administrative director salary increases. This is anyone with the director or administrator title, excluding Dr. Stevens and myself. We felt that instead of doing 2.6%, which would be an imbalance because some of their salaries are higher, that we stick with the $1,400 that the teachers received, because we feel that's, I believe that's the correct way we should be looking at that and doing that. So 6.7 would be a recommendation. There are 12 directors and administrators across the district that they would receive a salary increase of $1,400 in line with the increase that other certified staff are receiving, again excluding Dr. Stevens and myself.
Okay. Motion to approve administrative stipends, Mr. Raymer, second. Mr. Bucher, discussion.
So the directors is not a stipend, it's a salary.
Directors
is not a
Well-
stipend, it's a salary. Just to be clear. Just I'm still pay raise. Yep.
Increase. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy.
6.5, Heartland Career Center NIPSCO parcel purchase proceeds. Say that 3 times really quick. As you recall, you guys approved, and so did the other 4 LEAs, approved the sale of a parcel of land for NIPSCO to run a gas line for Ford Meter Box, new building. The proceeds from the land sale and the easements was $26,628.75. There are 2 options to consider. One, those proceeds could go toward the roof project. The second one would be that the proceeds would be for student scholarship fund that's provided for expenses related to post-secondary education for students from Heartland. So I just need a motion on which one you determine to be the best. Personally, I think the impact of $26,000 when divided out amongst the 5 schools is minimal, but I think the impact of $26,000 can have on scholarships for students seeking post-secondary gives an opportunity to really, help kids in that decision to move on to something post-high school.
Need a motion to approve one way or the other.
I motion for option 2.
Mr. Raymer motions for option 2, the scholarship. Mr. Brubaker seconds. Discussion.
Can you describe how that scholarship fund would work?
You might be able to do that better.
So at the end of the year, based upon the students actually fill out an application if they're wanting to go to post-secondary or go to college or something of that nature. And then based upon that application and their attendance and their involvement and all the credentials, they award scholarships to those individuals during the Heartland certification ceremony at Honeywell. And last year we had, I think, 6 individuals that got scholarships. They were $3,000 scholarships, or they were $3,000 scholarships, I think, last year, to whatever school they go to.
So is it endowed or?
No, it's actually, it's raised actually, I think part of it's grant money and part of it is raised every year. So, I think.
My understanding from talking with Mr. McWhort is that those funds can be used, for whatever, whether it's tuition, books, room and board, whatever those post-secondary costs are, they can apply that scholarship to those post-secondary costs.
Does it run through the community foundation?
The 26,000 will not. It does actually, well, I believe it does go through the community foundation, yes. So, yes. One other third option somebody came up with during the board meeting was to divvy up the 26,000 amongst the different departments in the building and let them have each $2,000 to better their classrooms. Or that was another option that somebody brought up during the meeting. That wasn't an option that came out from.
Well, it's not an option for us.
So, anyway.
All in favor? Oh, go ahead, Rick.
Will this go to Manchester?
This money?
You want to table this, Rick, until you, okay.
No.
No, I'm just,
26, the scholarship stuff?
Yeah.
If there's a student from Manchester that applies for the scholarship, they have to apply,
Yeah.
and they are selected, then yes.
But it's not specific to Manchester.
No, it's better, it's dependent on who applies.
Center students.
Yeah.
If there are 6 students that only apply, those 6 will get it. If there's 50 that apply,
no, I just wondered because you got some questions that are unanswered, so,
Yeah.
I mean, we could
Well,
table it.
if you allow me one final question.
go ahead, you
Are
can.
other districts doing the same? Is that the discussion that I gathered?
the scholarship?
Yeah.
Oh, the 2 options, yes. Those are the 2 options that Mr. McWhort sent out for the boards to decide. It was discussed a couple of other things, or shared a couple other things, but these are the main 2 that I think he found that was.
The 2 districts have already voted to add those funds to the scholarship fund.
That would be the logical of the 2, as far as I would vote.
Is
so.
this also a majority? If
Yes, a
we're all
majority.
doing it or
Yes,
we're
sir.
not? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6-0, Randy.
Very good.
Thank you. No, good questions. I just didn't know if you
Next
could
is
answer.
6.6 non-cert pay increase recommendation. Again, based off of the 2.6%, which represented the $1,400 bump, we're recommending that non-certified pay increases be equal to 2.6%. We've liked that stays in line with what our certified teachers received. And Dr. Stevens worked those numbers into our DUAB reporting, et cetera. So,
Motion to approve non-certified pay increase. Mr. Brubaker, second. Mr. Penrod, discussion.
Is this, oh, go ahead.
Wow, but is this, since I have a spouse that's included, is this a?
but you did your conflict of interest.
Yeah.
You're good to
Yeah,
vote.
you're fine.
Okay.
Is this for the kitchen staff too, or are they separate?
Kitchen staff is separate.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Really quick, just so
Yeah, gotta come up.
I just want to answer the question about kitchen staff. By statute, the kitchen has to be self-funded.
Yeah.
So while
I thought
we're
so.
talking about non-cert, they are applied to non-cert, it's just their funding mechanism is different. So where all the other non-certs are paid through either operation or education, kitchen staff is paid through the kitchen's funds based on reimbursements from the Fed, state, meals and everything else. So yes, it does apply to them, it's just a different funding source.
Very good. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
Okay. 6.8 is Manchester Junior Senior High Principal Recommendation. I'm going to ask Mr. McClure if you'd stand up so I can embarrass you a little bit. It's my pleasure to recommend Mr. Brady McClure for the position of principal at Manchester Junior Senior High. We posted the position and had 12 applicants. Narrowed that to 5 and conducted interviews with a committee of 9 that involved teachers, administrators, support staff, board member, and superintendent and assistant superintendent. From there, we narrowed that to 2. And Dr. Stevens and I interviewed those 2 this week. I think it was last week. And then the vetting process began. A lot of phone calls to former superintendents, administrators, personnel that they had worked for. And Mr. McClure emerged as a person we feel is the right person to lead Manchester to greater achievements. He is a Northfield grad, and I told him I wouldn't ever hold that against him, and it's the last time I'll mention it. But he has strong ties to Wabash County. His kids attend Northfield School District. So we're excited. We've already had a lot of conversations. I'm going to ask him, I'm not going to put you on the spot to say anything unless you want to, but I definitely would like you to introduce your family. If you would honor us by doing that, that would be great.
You got to go to the podium, though.
Yeah.
That's the rule. Sure.
You can make them stand from there if you want.
Oh, man, they want
The boys are itching to get up there with you. We sugared them up with cookies before we started, so.
You can see the shy ones up here with me. This is my wife, Courtney. Courtney and I met at Rossville. We are currently in our 17th year of marriage, and we have 3 children. Callie, if you want to wave, stand up. Callie is a freshman in high school. Carson, you want to stand up and wave? Carson is a 5th grader, and this is Connor. He's our 4th grader. He is the lively one of our family. So now we're excited. I'm very excited. My wife and I were talking here, going through the slides here. One of the many things I'm excited about is the community involvement. I don't think I've ever been in a board meeting where I've seen almost $10,000 worth of donations towards the students and the kids, and that I think that speaks volume of the community here that I've always known. I graduated Northfield in 1996, and known this as always a very supportive community. So very excited. I know still got to figure out a start date, but I'll be itching to go whenever we determine that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. So I would ask the board to take that recommendation under consideration.
Motion to approve.
Motion
Mr.
approved.
Ezra, second. Mr. Esposette, discussion. Want to give this guy any flack yet? Welcome aboard.
Like the color of the shirt.
Yeah,
Red,
and
red,
the tie.
red.
Good choice.
We do need to take an official vote.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
6-0.
It's good to be a squire.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Heartland update.
We pretty much covered most of what I wanted to discuss tonight, so we'll just leave it at that. Most of our,
Perfect.
yeah, we'll just go that route.
Legislative update.
Nothing's going on, but obviously we're going to be getting a new governor at the first of the year, so don't know what that's going to do for change in education, but we'll deal with it when it comes.
Superintendent comments?
Yeah, I just want to bring a couple of things to your attention. One, I've met with two different groups from Manchester Teacher Association. We discussed it a little bit in negotiations, but also in just our general discussion. Put together 2 calendars. All the districts right now are kind of in that process of getting our 25-26 calendar put together. When I came here last year, there was a push to try to look for a little bit later start date. And I think that momentum kind of gathered with our local LEAs in our area, especially with Heartland, taking Heartland into consideration. Presented 2 calendars to the staff, the entire staff, one with a start date of Monday, August 11th, one with the start date of Monday, August 4th, which would be comparable to what we did this year. Some of the things we took into consideration, August 4th, as it was this year, as the start of, I should say, practice schedule, which brings kids and practices back in the same day, which makes it a little bit rough. Just getting going, coming off of the summer. I sent out a survey, had 106 respondents, which I thought was a great return. Out of 106 respondents, 75% favored the later start date. So in December, I'm going to be bringing a calendar to the board with an August 11th start date. Highlights would be it would push a fall break back a week to the 20th to the 24th. Spring break would stay the same. Last couple of days of March, first 3 days of April. Last school day would be after Memorial Day, but still get out in May. Your last day would be May 28th with graduation on the 29th of May. I feel like that gives our teachers and our coaches and our student athletes a little breathing room before heading back. So again, that will be coming. It wasn't on the agenda, and I'll be bringing that in December to you for calendar approval.
Is that going to be coordinated with other corporations for Heartland?
Absolutely. Good. Two have already approved a later start date. One is approving. It's what's being presented tonight in their board meeting. We all talk and share calendars and share with Mr. McWhort as we work through that process. A couple other things. One, and I tried to reach out, Mr. Orr. I apologize because I didn't have a contact for you, but I know I just want to congratulate Mr. Tobias, Mr. Orr, and Mr. Raymer for retaining a seat and gaining a seat on our board. I'm excited to work with you and continue to do great things for the district. Next week, the 20th through the 22nd, I'll be attending the superintendent conference in Indianapolis. Also, winter sports are picking up and kicking off. Girls already have a couple of games under their belt. Boys are going to be shortly behind them. We really capped off a strong fall season for a lot of our teams, and we'll be honoring some of them in December. We had a qualify for state cross country this year, so it's been a good fall season for Manchester. Again, I want to thank the MTA for your work and reaching an agreement, and also just in your calendar work with working with the district and central office. Also, Brown and Brown. Brown and Brown is the broker, not the consultants that work with us on the change in medical. We also worked in conjunction with the MTA on that. Also, just to highlight some of the benefits of the trust. And Dr. Stevens and I came out of a school trust from where we were at prior to coming to Manchester. There's strength in numbers. With 3,000 ish members, it gives you a lot more control again of increases and negotiating services with our new insurance. Not to bore you with all the details. One, the rates are lower for our employees, which is important, and the cost for the district is lower. The benefits to the employees are greater. There's some teleconferencing things that they're capable or able to do. There are also some surgical things, orthopedically and heart-wise, that there's an agreement with Hendricks Hendricks, it's west of Indianapolis, but Hendricks Medical Center, where there are negotiated prices for things like knee replacements, hip replacements, things like that, that are billed at a much lower cost, also billed at no cost to the employee, no out-of-pocket to the employee, no copay to the employee, and they actually, depending on the procedure, ranges from $500 to $1,500, actually pay you to go down that way if you need to cover gas cost, or a hotel if you need to go down the night before. So there's some real benefits of joining this trust. We're excited about it. I'm excited for our employees and what it's going to provide for them, not just savings-wise, but I think medically speaking. There's a clinic. Right now, the loan clinic is in Peru, but they're looking at the potential of putting one somewhere between MSD's district and our district. That clinic, and Dr. Stevens and I have both been to the clinic that we're in the trust before. Again, no cost for medication, no copay when you go in. So we're very excited about the trust, and not just the savings. More importantly than that, for me, I think it's a better benefit and product for our employees, and that's what it needs to be. So beyond that, that's what I have. We're in that holiday season. Kids are winding up, and everybody seems to be getting antsy and getting ready, and I think it's going to blow by us really quick, but it's upon us.
Thank you, Mr. Castle. School board comments?
I know we've been here a while, so I'll make this brief. I went to the ISBA convention as well with Mr. Castle here. And one of the classes that I went to was called Student Outcomes Don't Change Until Adult Behaviors Change. And so it was a very fascinating, eye-opening sort of class. And I wanted to share a little bit with you if I could. I gave you guys packets and information, but so there are four main aspects of board meetings. One is inputs. Everybody's sharing inputs. Outputs, what we vote, or the way that things outcome. Adult outcomes, which is financial goals and achievements for like AstroTurf on a football field, for example, or gym updates, or and then student outcomes, which prioritize student growth. The knowledge, skills, and abilities that students are expected to demonstrate upon completing a course or program. What do they know and able to do when they leave us? So those are student outcomes. And what they talked about was creating board goals that enhance student outcomes. Instead of enhancing, you have to have board goals for finance or policy or things of that nature, but creating a goal that enhances that outcome. One example that was shared with me during that whole thing was at the bottom of this page. It says board goal, third grade literacy is at 98% grade level by the end of the school year 2025. That's an example that was given. So the superintendent would take that goal and run with it. The board also supports that goal in any way necessary. Example, hire more aides, reading coaches, curriculum, etc. Monitor progress actively and be invested in the goal. Share progress from each board meeting. Extra example would be to have students from that have maybe shown the highest growth over the term for the 9 weeks. Maybe bring them to the board meeting and celebrate them. And get constant feedback and constant updates so that we start, so the board is involved in all of those things. Now, when that happens, the whole support mechanism shifts so that everybody down to the teacher and the aide level and everywhere down there, down in the school, in the dealing with the students, excuse me, they feel support all the way up, and know that the board is supporting them in their goal. They know the board's goal, and the board supports everything with that goal. So by the year 2025, if they don't make it to 98%, for example, then you reevaluate and you make a new goal based upon that, and you trudge forward. So I have included in the framework here, the packet framework, it shows several things that can be done, how to become student outcome based. Right now, in that meeting, we had about 2% of everybody in that room said that their board meetings consisted of student outcome parts to it. So it wasn't, I mean, 98% was filled with incomes, outcomes, and adult outcomes. So we're all here for student outcomes, every one of us. So I recommend in the future, take a look at this. I shared a video with you guys. Take a look at that as well. It'll drive home what I'm talking about a little bit more. So thank you. I will, if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Bucher. School board comments?
I'll just make one. So pretty packed agenda, a lot of presentations, a lot of, 99% positive stuff going on. So just want to acknowledge that. There were so many good things that came up on the agenda and moving in a really good direction. Excited for our students, excited for our staff. So appreciate the positivity.
Thank you, Rick.
Welcome again to Mr. McClure and his family. Thank you for being here.
Well, and I'd like to thank the outgoing school board members and then thank the incoming school board members, because service sometimes isn't glorious, right? So you put up with it, but thank you guys for running. Thank you guys for working for the community. So welcome aboard. As we go along here, it's New Year's, but I welcome you guys in some discussions. I mean, you're elected officials, so I know there's a little, some of the things probably can't be shared, but whatever interaction you guys want with the current board, we're open. So thank you. Any other board comments? How about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Esposito, Mr. Brubaker, in favor? 6-0.
Thank you.